What's up, guys? It's Coach Grant with First Down Training, and today we're going to be breaking down some of JAYLEN Waddle's route running. It's going to be some wide receiver versus DB one-on-ones. We're going to be talking about how you guys can beat a physical DB and how you guys can run a slant versus press. So those are the two different situations that we're going to be talking about. But first, I want to talk to you guys about a ultimate wide receiver training package that we just started offering on my website, guys. And you get this today for $10 off if you check out the very first link in the description. It's a full 30-day or 28-day gym workout plan, 4 weeks worth of workouts that wide receivers need to do, and a full technique manual on everything you need to know wide receivers. Again, very first link in the description for $10 off today. Let's get started. So the first route we're looking at here is this kind of slant release variation from Waddle where he gives him this like 1-2, little hesitate, then gives him a 1-2 again. Now, anytime I got to work a slant route, right, you got to have different things that you can work off the line. You don't necessarily need to just go straight to the outside every single time like a diamond release when in this situation it would work, or you don't need to necessarily like slide the guy out to the outside. This is another variation. He's going to be given this just 1-2, little hesitate, 1-2 again. So it's like a 4-step release. And the whole goal is to work in this range where the DB's got to make a decision or he's got to watch our hips. So it's either he can make the decision to come at us and lunge at us, or what he could do is shuffle with us, watch our hips, and that's ultimately what he does. And if we're a good salesman, we're going to get into that in a second with my upper half and throwing my body to the outside, that will get him to jump off that platform, right? Because if we go into here and immediately off the line, I set him up with just this quick little 1-2, little hesitate 1. This is just selling that you're going 1-2-3 going up to the fade. Like you're giving this just, it's all about being able to sell vertical with just these 3 steps and being able to sell vertical in this small, tight space, right? So he gives him this 1-2, little hesitate, jab to the inside, throws his body to the outside, selling like he's just going to be doing 1-2-3 pushing vertical, right? So how this can build is you guys can do this on a fade first and then work it into a slant, right? So maybe I come off the line of scrimmage and I give him this 1-2 and then I give him just this 1 step to the inside and I burst up vertical and I beat him to the outside and I just go and I catch this thing over the top. Or maybe I'm not getting the ball. Maybe I'm backside, right? Maybe I'm not even a read on the play. Maybe the quarterback's working play side. I'm backside and I could work this type of release because I know it will set something up in the future, right? Now, this is a little bit longer of a release, right? It's not something that you are just necessarily quick out in 3 steps. There's a little bit of tempo to it. So what does that mean to you guys? That's how you guys should kind of approach those releases because it's all about knowing IQ behind it, right? Or there's something that recruiters, college coaches, they look for in receivers is having that IQ. Do they know the different situations? But also, can they get to the spot we need them to get to, right? So maybe he's backside on this player. Maybe he's third read. Maybe it's like a concept here. I'll draw this thing out right now. Maybe it's a concept where they're maybe like 3-by-1, right? Maybe it's 3-by-1 or maybe it's like 2-by-2. Maybe we got a tight end, whatever it is. But maybe it's like a scissors concept and then we get this slant coming back underneath, right? And he's got a little bit of time. He's not supposed to get to this spot until that quarterback goes through those first 2 reads. So I got a little bit of time to work. That's something that you guys can kind of think about, or you should be thinking about anytime you're structuring your releases. Okay, what situation is this? What situation should I use this? Because let me tell you this, a quick game like catch throw from the quarterback where it's like double slant from the slot and the outside is a different slant than backside. You got like a dig, post, and then you got a slant right here, and you're the third read on this play. Those are 2 very different slants, so we got to understand the tempo, got to understand the play type, right? So now, what gets this DB to turn his hips, right? Because the easy answer is, the DB turned his hips too early, right? But as a receiver, what we need to think about is I want to make him turn his hips. I want to make him believe whatever move that I'm trying to do, right? So when I come off here and I give him this 1-2, little patient, you see, I want to sell what? I want to sell vertical. So your hips got to stay vertical. Your shoulders got to stay vertical. Everything about this has got to be vertical to get that DB to turn his hips and open up because you're in that range to where if he decides to lunge at me and try to get hands, he's going to be off balance because I'm in a good range. I'm in that like 45-degree angle range where that's no man's land for the DB where he could either lunge or watch my hips to try to stay disciplined. And him watching hips without getting hands is very, very hard to do when you're explosive and when you sell with your upper half, and that cut is very explosive. You see how he's throwing almost to the outside like a crossover, right? That's what you guys kind of want to do anytime you're working that 1-2. Like you see guys like Jerry Jeudy do it a lot. Keenan Allen's another great one where it's like you use that first step to shoot you to the outside and it's like a crossover. You're just crossing a guy playing basketball, selling with your upper half to get him to lean to the outside, and then we get his hips to lock out. He's in that low, like not so much an explosive position or an athletic position where we could drive out and accelerate and then go. Now, again, you see what Waddle does here, and I know we're spending a lot of time on this route, but this is such a technically sound route that when you guys come here, and especially when you give a patient release, especially when it's like a third read release situation where you got to burst off the line, This route, you got to accelerate, right? Because again, like I said, it takes a little bit of time, right? So maybe the quarterback is coming off that read fast, but he expects you to be at a spot. So maybe if this release, like we're going to go with this type of a release or maybe a slide release, something like that, I got to make sure that I accelerate and win that race back to the spot of the ball. I don't want to cruise. I don't want to jog. And then the quarterback throw this thing, expect me to be somewhere and I'm not there and I have to lunge out for it, or he just misses the throw because I'm not accelerating. Accelerating is about getting to that spot, but also winning the race with the DB because he knows he got beat. So he's really going to be trying to overcompensate for this. Let's watch the thing again, full speed one more time. So 1-2, 1-2, sell like we're going fade, and make sure we accelerate to the inside. So now we're going to be talking about how you guys can beat a more physical DB, okay? So now, when you guys are going up against a more physical DB who likes to lunge at you, right? And you see straight off here, he likes to lunge at you. Now let's talk about this, right? This is one-on-ones. This is a practice scenario. Ain't nobody trying to go on two right here, okay? So we're not trying to draw any D lineman off, but if we see a guy, think about this from an offensive coordinator perspective. They're up in the box, right? So they're seeing the field. They see everything. They got film on everything, right, in a real game. If they see a guy just absolutely punking our receiver right off the line, it's right off the snap, the receiver has no time to work. This is why 7-on-7 and one-on-ones can be bullshit sometimes. Right off the line, he just jumps and he just chokes him and completely jams to the sideline. I'm going to come back the next play and go on two, because if he lunges at him and tries to guess the snap count and he hits him, that's 5 yards. Let's move it up 5. And then he's never going to do that again, right? So there are times where it's like, okay, I get the question asked a ton, like, how do I beat a guy who just jams me off the line? It's like, a lot of the times it's not the most realistic look, because it's just he doesn't have to worry about it. Most of the time in game he's reacting off of us, right? He's reacting off of us, then going to get hands. And those guys can still be physical, so this is what that applies. But if you get a guy who's just going to lunge at you and just try to choke you right off the line, this step back release is a great way to avoid, right? Because you see, he's out of his range here, right? He's kind of off balance, his feet are flat, he's lunging out, and he doesn't get hands on this guy, so I could step back and then go, right? Now this little hesitation right here, I don't necessarily like. I think he should just step back and go, because that little hesitation can screw up timing, right? So it's kind of, again, knowing the situation, knowing where you're going to be working, because maybe that'll work if he's a backside dig. And against man coverage, we necessarily aren't very fond of a dig route anyways as a quarterback, right? Maybe unless it's a two-man look. But if it's like cover 0, I'm probably not going to be throwing a dig. Probably going to be throwing something a little bit quicker. Same with cover 1, because I know I'm getting some pressure, right? So you got to understand that as a receiver. But when we change up that tempo right there, it can screw up things just a little bit, right? So now when I get to the top of the route, you see how he's here. He's fast, beats him to the top, gives that little head and shoulder fake, and that's something that you guys got to be able to do when you run a dig route with an outside release. If you run a dig route with an outside release and you don't give something at the top and you're able to restack and you don't give something and you just round off into the break, DB's going to have easy time making that play. It's either we restack and give something to the outside, or I'm just giving this real hard explosive cut, or if he's playing me hip to hip, I swat him by at his back hip or the back of his shoulder and work that throw-by technique and cut back underneath. So you got to have a plan, especially, right? But when it's a physical guy lunging at you, especially in a one-on-one situation, 7-on-7, where they have a little bit of a jump on us, we got to make sure that we have a plan for it. And that step-back release, you got to step back and then go. Don't step back, do all these fancy moves, and then go, because that will screw up the timing with the quarterback. He will be sacked if it's a true, like, man coverage, like 0-1 look, something like that. But if I give him that step back and then just go, and I avoid it, and he lunges out and he whiffs and his feet are flat, I can beat him over the top and especially beat him with speed, okay? So let's watch the thing again, full speed one more time. So you see how Waddle comes off here, steps back, avoids that hand, bursts upfield, then give him that 1-2 and accelerate over the middle. That's a great route. All right, guys, I really want to thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. If you guys have any questions at all, please leave those in the comments. And again, if you want a $10 off ultimate wide receiver training package, right? Full 28-day gym program, and you get access to our technique manual today, only $10 off. Check out that very first link in the description. Really appreciate you guys watching. I'll see you guys next time.